Next on the news, the Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan, easing the concerns of the children during his first Catechetical Sunday in the diocese. And the bishop also joined students from local Catholic schools to teach them about the impact of the rosary on their lives. Also, the First Lady of Poland thanks the Polish Catholic community in the Diocese of Brooklyn for their donations. Plus,
be it negative or positive, you have to communicate.
Some secrets for a long and happy marriage from hundreds of couples all celebrating their golden anniversary. I'm Christine Persichetti. This special edition of Currents News starts right now.
Many children being formed in the faith in the different ways through schools or through religious ed.
The Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan, visited the youth of the diocese as they begin forming their faith. This was Bishop Brennan's first Catechetical Sunday in the Diocese of Brooklyn. He sat down with students and catechists who are beginning their journeys to a deeper faith. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story from South Ozone Park.
Make sure that we're passing on that faith.
It's a responsibility all Catholics bear, share the faith with others. Catechists across the world were recognized and celebrated on Catechetical Sunday this weekend. Last year, in the Diocese of Brooklyn, catechists taught 20,000 students.
Without the catechists, our programs in our diocese would not be able to provide the evangelization, time, talent, and treasure that we give to our young students.
This was the first normal start to the catechetical school year since the pandemic, and Bishop Robert Brennan's first in the Diocese of Brooklyn. He visited Our Lady of Perpetual Help in South Ozone Park, where he was met by some shy kids.
As shy as some of them are, there's a great openness to God, the ways that they want to learn and the ways that they want to deepen their friendship with Jesus Christ.
Bishop Brennan said though it's up to students to be open once they're in the classroom, the effort starts with their parents.
It takes planning and some sacrifice to be able to make sure your children are getting this religious formation.
Catechists say the faith formation students get here can last a lifetime.
We give them a foundation for life, based on Jesus Christ and His Blessed Mother. We give them a way to follow, for life and to be happy with Him in this life and forever.
Last year, the Diocese of Brooklyn had more than 3,000 catechists. The goal is to attract even more in an effort to reflect the diversity of the Diocese of Immigrants.
So the more we can get the word out that every baptized Catholic is a catechist, every baptized member of the faith is welcomed and welcoming, the stronger we'll be.
The Diocese of Brooklyn will incorporate information and feedback from synodal listening sessions into catechesis programs across its 177 parishes. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Bishop Brennan joined Currents News for following the Sunday celebration to talk about the diocese's religious education program. I asked the bishop what makes Brooklyn's faith formation stand out.
It's an important part of our diocesan work. I mean, one of the chief works of the Catholic Church is to teach the gospel, to proclaim the gospel. And so every parish, we have committed people who want to share their faith. So my goal is, first of all, to encourage those catechists, to thank them for their remarkable work, but also to be part of that formation with the young people. I've always enjoyed catechetical ministry. Even when I was on Long Island, for example, I would visit and I had my own classes. Catechetical ministry is a big uplift. It's a great thing to be able to share your faith with our young people.
Absolutely, and the Vatican wants lay people to have a bigger role in evangelization, so becoming a catechist would be a way to do that. But many people, a lot that I've spoken to, are afraid to volunteer as catechists because, they don't think they're qualified. So how does the diocese get people to become catechists? How does the church prepare them?
First of all, very often it comes at the parish level where a pastor identifies people or asks people to step forward. And, if you're not ready to be a catechist, if you think you're interested but you're not too sure, there are other ways of contributing to the catechetical ministry. And those other ways may actually lead to becoming a catechist. So there are people who take part in some of the inner workings, preparing the materials for the classes. There are aides. Sometimes people team teach catechetical classes and you get a feel for it. In the meantime, the diocese is offering ongoing formation programs, and we ask our catechists. We ourselves want to make sure that our catechists know their faith and are able to explain it in a way that the young people can understand it. So we don't just throw people into the classroom willy-nilly. We ask our catechists to take part in these ongoing faith formation programs.
Good, so they don't go in there blind. And obviously the students are children who don't attend Catholic schools, so they have these religion classes once a week. Do you think one class a week is enough?
Our classes are only a part of the whole. Clearly one class a week is not enough, but really that's just a part of the work of formation. Formation, of course, begins at home. So the documents of Vatican II are very clear. The parents are the first teachers of their children in the ways of faith, the domestic church. So what we're doing in our parishes is really complementing and supplementing what parents are doing at home all the time. As you would imagine, there are different levels. Wouldn't it be great if every family had that ongoing formation? That's not always the case, but we try to supplement what happens at home. Secondly, a lot takes place in the parish just in the practice of the faith, going to Mass, doing works of service, living around the parish. So that happens in a lot of other ways. So catechetical ministry isn't simply limited to one class a week. Really, individuals, the family to make that investment.
That was the Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan. The Tablet newspaper delves even deeper in their Catechetical Sunday coverage. The paper took a special look into how one parish is spreading the faith, St. Bernard of Clairvaux Parish in Mill Basin. Their Sunday school, instead called the School of Religion, has 37 volunteer catechists and instructs more than 200 students. To read more about this story, just pick up a copy of this week's paper in churches and be sure to subscribe online at thetablet.org. The Vatican Secretary of State met with Russia's foreign minister at the UN General Assembly in New York. Thursday's meeting between Cardinal Pietro Parolin and Sergei Lavrov took place on the eve of an initiative by Russia to annex occupied areas of Ukraine. After the meeting, the Russian government issued a statement blaming NATO for the crisis between Russia and the West. At the same time, Moscow acknowledged the dialogue between Russia and the Vatican is productive. Also at the United Nations, President Biden had a strong rebuke for Russia on Wednesday. Hours before Biden's address to the General Assembly, Russian President Vladimir Putin escalated the war by mobilizing more troops. And there was even a veiled threat to potentially use nuclear weapons. But in his address, Biden said Russia has shamelessly violated UN principles with its invasion of Ukraine. After setbacks on the battlefield, Russian President Vladimir Putin responds in a rare national address.
In order to protect our homeland, I think it is necessary to support the decision to partially mobilize citizens of Russian Federation.
The partial mobilization will call up 300,000 citizens in Russia's military reserve. This announcement comes after a successful Ukrainian offensive in the northeastern Kharkiv region. During a speech to the United Nations General Assembly just hours later, President Joe Biden pledged to stand with Ukraine in the face of military escalation.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state. That should make your blood run cold.
The president also calling the Kremlin's move to annex separatist regions in Ukraine a sham and violation of the UN Charter.
Putin claims he had to act because Russia was threatened. But no one threatened Russia.
As more Russian troops are expected to enter the fight, Putin threatened the potential use of nuclear weapons, also raising concerns.
In order to protect our people, in order to protect Russia, we will definitely use all means.
President Biden also talked about how the Russian invasion has affected the world's food supply, and he pledged $2.9 billion in global food security aid. One world leader in New York for the meetings made a stop in the Diocese of Immigrants on Tuesday. Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda visited the spiritual home for Lithuanian Catholics in the Diocese of Brooklyn for more than 100 years, the Church of the Annunciation of the Blessed Mary in Williamsburg. During the event, Nausėda talked about Russia's invasion and gave his strong support for Ukraine. Also visiting the Diocese of Brooklyn, the First Lady of Poland, who thanked 2 Polish Catholic communities who helped in the war in Ukraine efforts. On Wednesday, First Lady Agata Kornhauser-Duda visited Our Lady of Czestochowa Church in Brooklyn to thank them for the school's donations and to celebrate the parish's 125th anniversary. She met with the parish's lay council as well as the school's principal and teachers. Poland's First Lady also met with a group of Polish schools at the Polish Consulate General Wednesday. Among them was St. Rose of Lima Catholic Academy in Far Rockaway, Queens. The school took part in a Ukraine Help campaign organized by the Center of Polish Educational Schools in America. The Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, met with the First Lady of Ukraine on Friday. Dolan said he was honored to meet Olena Zelenska. His Eminence says he assured her of the prayers and support of the people of the Archdiocese for those suffering because of the war. A Catholic high school in the Diocese of Brooklyn has welcomed a new president.
I hereby formally commission you to lead the educational family of Holy Cross High School.
Mark Mangialuzzo was installed as Holy Cross High School's 5th president during a mass with Bishop Brennan on Friday. Mangialuzzo is a lifelong resident of Bayside and graduated from the school in 1992. During his homily, Bishop Brennan gave Mark and the students of Holy Cross some words of advice ahead of this new school year. They were spoken by Pope Francis during World Youth Day in Krakow, Poland, when he said most people feel the secret to happiness is a big couch.
He said that day, so I am asking all of you here today, I renew this right here, to trade in your sofa for a good pair of walking shoes. Because we got to get out on the road and do the Lord's work. Jesus gives the same command to us today. And as we start this new academic year, and Mark, as you start this new chapter in your life and your reassociation with Holy Cross. There are Jesus' instructions.
Mangialuzzo and Bishop Brennan actually have a parish connection. When Bishop Brennan was a newly ordained priest, he served at St. Patrick's Parish on Long Island, the same church Mark's grandparents went to. And according to him, they were very fond of then Father Brennan. There's a lot more news headed your way. They're learning about the impact of it on their lives. The Bishop of Brooklyn joining students to teach them about the importance of the rosary. An execution halted in Alabama, why it had to be stopped and what the Diocese of Birmingham has to say. And how COVID could increase your risk for Alzheimer's if you're over a certain age. They are learning the significance that praying the rosary can have in your life at an early age. It's almost October, the month of the Holy Rosary. Now, DeSales Media Group, the communications and technology arm of the Diocese of Brooklyn that operates Net TV, is filming a rosary rally with Bishop Brennan and students from 5 Catholic academies across the diocese. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story from the Immaculate Conception Center in Douglaston.
Exploring their faith outside the classroom. Students from 5 Catholic academies in the Diocese of Brooklyn experienced the rosary like never before.
I really felt honored for that because that's just once in a while, once in a lifetime.
On Tuesday, DeSales Media Group, the communications and technology arm of the Diocese of Brooklyn that operates Net TV, filmed the 2022 Rosary Rally at the Immaculate Conception Center in Douglaston. 75 students prayed the Rosary with Bishop Robert Brennan and Superintendent Deacon Kevin McCormick in 5 different languages.
It's important that they see the Rosary as an important tool for drawing close to God, but seeing other children praying the rosary and saying, oh, wow, we have something in common here.
I was taken back by it, by the ability of these kids to pray and the ability for the Lord to hear us each in such a unique way. It made it very special.
A rosary rally hasn't been done like this since before the pandemic. Father Joseph Jabino had the students sit together in the shape of a human rosary while they prayed in English, Polish, Mandarin, Spanish, and Creole.
We so often hear that youth are the church of the future. No, they're the church of now. So here is an opportunity for the diocese to be led in prayer by our youth and young adults.
It was cool to see many different cultures coming together. It was nice to see how peaceful people can be together.
The rally, which will air on Net TV in October, shows viewers there's a lot to learn from students and that how we worship is reflected in the diversity of the Diocese of Brooklyn.
I think it's an opportunity for them to also listen and maybe try to learn.
Bring unity. I think that's the number one word for today is unity. That's what we heard in that room today. We are the Diocese of Immigrants and we brought unity today.
Not only will the Rosary Rally air on Net TV, it will be distributed to the schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn to be used in class and faith formation programs. In Douglaston, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
The Rosary Rally with Bishop Brennan will air on the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, Friday, October 7th, after Currents News at 7:30 p.m. A telemedia network, which has been serving the Diocese of Brooklyn for decades, has taken a new step to enhance the learning experience for close to 6 schools. The Catholic Telemedia Network and Discovery Education are teaming up to send 68 schools their award-winning K-12 digital learning platform. The online resource connects educators to a vast collection of ready-to-use digital lessons, intuitive quiz and activity creation tools, and professional learning resources. NYCHA officials went under oath to explain what happened in a water testing mix-up at the Jacob Riis houses. 3 separate New York City Council committee chairs teamed up during a public hearing on Friday. The trouble first began in early September when NYCHA told residents the water wasn't safe after arsenic was found. Almost a week later, the city found the test results were wrong and encouraged residents to drink from the tap. City Council members say residents deserve to know the truth about the scare. The execution of an Alabama man was halted Thursday because of time concerns and IV troubles. According to officials, the state stopped the scheduled execution for Alan Miller because they had trouble accessing his veins for a lethal injection. They later determined they could not get the execution underway before a midnight deadline and postponed it. Miller was sentenced to death after being convicted in a 1999 workplace rampage. Ahead of the halting on Thursday, the Diocese of Birmingham released this statement on the death penalty and Miller's execution. The Catholic Diocese of Birmingham in Alabama recognizes that the state must protect innocent people from violent criminals. In today's world, however, we know that there are ways to do so other than to execute even those such as Mr. Miller, convicted of the most heinous of crimes. We implore our elected official to end the violence of the death penalty and to replace it with non-lethal means of punishment. If you've been infected with COVID and you're over the age of 65, you're more likely to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease within a year. That from researchers looking into COVID's effect on your brain. Mandy Gaither tells us more.
An alarming new look at COVID-19 and its effects on the brain. Researchers studied the health records of more than 6 million seniors.
Then we asked, in people over 65, is there an increased rate of new diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease in those who had COVID? And there was.
The study's co-author, Dr. Pamela Davis, says the seniors studied who got COVID-19 were diagnosed in the first year of the pandemic, before antivirals and before most people were fully vaccinated. The researchers found that group had a substantially higher risk of getting a new diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease within roughly a year of COVID-19 compared to those without a documented coronavirus infection.
We were a little bit surprised at how much of an increased hazard there was for developing Alzheimer's disease in such a short period of time.
While COVID-19 has not been found to cause Alzheimer's, Davis says the research shows they are linked. She says inflammation, sometimes caused by COVID-19, may be a risk factor.
there are many possibilities. Of course, the one that's most worrisome is that COVID itself interacts with the brain and either accelerates or tips people over into a dementia kind of a profile.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
Still to come on Currents News, it's all about the music and the dancing. The Great Irish Fair returns to the Diocese of Brooklyn. We'll tell you what's different this year. And they are 300 couples all celebrating their 50th anniversary. Next, their secrets for a long and happy marriage. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Irish Pride will be on display this weekend. The Diocese of Brooklyn's Great Irish Fair has returned, but this time with a twist. For more than 30 years, the fair has been held in Coney Island, but this year's affair has moved to Holy Name Parish in Park Slope in an effort to help raise more funds for Catholic education. According to the fair's director, low post-COVID turnout made the Ford Amphitheater in Coney Island prohibitive. He also said there were transportation problems for fairgoers since the F train did not go to the Brooklyn stop after Labor Day. You can learn more about the fair, which is happening this Saturday, September 24th, in a special pull-out section of this week's tablet. Read about some of the fun activities happening and learn about this year's honorees. Just pick up a copy of the paper at your local church and be sure to subscribe to the tablet online at thetablet.org to get future editions sent straight to you. Hundreds of couples in Chicago celebrating milestone anniversaries all at the same time. And after being married for 50 years, they all decided to renew their vows. Michelle Gallardo reports on what their secrets are for a long and happy marriage.
We just have been together, seems like forever. And it's been a good 50 years.
50 years, a half century. It is an entire lifetime, and for the approximately 300 couples celebrating their golden anniversary at Holy Name Cathedral, these have been 50 years filled with children and grandchildren, joy and laughter, sadness and pain. And while their hands may not be as smooth as they were in 1972, they're still joined for better and for worse.
I came here, I was 20 years old, and I met those guys. We know each other only for 2 weeks.
That's it. Renewing their vows to each other during a highly emotional service, these couples from all over the Chicago area were joined by their families during this very special celebration.
It was very emotional. Yes. I hadn't thought about coming here, but when you're in there and you start thinking about 50 years that have gone by and all the experiences we've had together.
In an era where it seems not many are willing to put in the hard work that leads to a 50th wedding anniversary, these couples shared some of their secrets, both serious and not so serious. What's the secret of 50 years of marriage?
Never go to bed angry.
We may not be lucky at cards, but we're always lucky at love. Be it negative or positive, you have to communicate. You can't read each other's minds. You have to communicate.
That sense of humor is very important.
And I learned one thing, she's always right.
And there's the best advice. That was Michelle Gallardo reporting. The Diocese of Brooklyn is also helping couples mark milestone anniversaries with a special Mass on Saturday, September 24th. Husbands and wives, regardless of anniversary year, are gathering at Resurrection Ascension Church in Rego Park to renew their wedding vows. Bishop Brennan will be the main celebrant. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.